أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد. Selamun Aleyküm ve Rahmetullahi ve Berekatuhu. Inshallah, we will continue with the 25th word. This is 25th word and third part. So far, we studied the first and the second part of the introduction. And this 25th word, at least the first part that we are reading, it's about the miraculousness of Quran. Miraculousness of the Quran. And it is the interpretation of the verse, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, say if all mankind and all jinn were to come together to produce like of this Quran, they couldn't produce the like of it. And if they were to help and support each other, if all mankind and all jinn were to come together to produce the like of this Quran, they couldn't produce the like of it, even if they were to help and support each other. That's an interesting verse that we hear a lot. Just give me a second, please. Sorry. Okay. This is an interesting verse, I was saying, and this is something that we hear a lot. And so let's talk about this verse for a few more minutes, inshallah. So the usual way we hear about this verse is the miraculousness of the language aspect of Quran, or what is it? There is a word for it, eloquence of maybe the speech, narration, balagha, okay, yes, and rhetoric, yes. So this is the part, this is the aspect that usually attributed to this verse. So even if you come together, all the poets, so the poets were the scientists of the first generation that that listened to the Quran, the people of Quraysh. So even if all your poets come together and try to produce a verse which is similar to a verse in Quran, you wouldn't be able to do it. And we hear some stories that some of them try to make, as beautiful as the Quranic verses, produce as beautiful as Quranic verses. They somehow, catch the rhetoric, catch the style of the Quranic verses, but the meanings are silly and so on. But here, author started to interpret this verse, and the first thing he said, or all the things he said, not only the first thing, it's about the definition of Quran, and the author doesn't talk about how beautiful the Arabic language is used in Quran. He's talking about the Quran being the post-eternal interpreter of the various tongues, reciting the verses of creation, the being the commentator of the book of the words of the seen and the unseen, or it's being revealed from the greatest name and from the highest degree of each name. It's being addressed in the name of creator of the heavens and the earth, and so on and so forth. So this is something, traditionally at least, something that we are not used to. So how do you think what we studied so far in the first part and the second part, the Quran being an interpreter of the universe, book of universe, it's being commentator of the book of words of the seen and unseen, or it's coming from the sublime throne and the greatest name and from the highest degree of each name. How these things can be considered as an interpretation of this verse? If all mankind and the jinn were to come together to produce the like of this Quran, they couldn't produce the like of it. How all these things we studied so far can be considered as an interpretation of this verse? Maybe they not. Maybe answer is, oh, they are not the interpretation of the verse, but the author is just, laying some foundation for us. And then in, I don't know, the seventh point, there's no such thing, but in the seventh point, the author will start interpreting the verse. Maybe this is the case. So what do you think about that? What we studied so far, do you think it is the interpretation of this verse? And if so, how? Yusuf, please go ahead.
So I guess as the author have been explaining or describing Quran, so we can then take this initial verse as this miraculousness can or should be applicable in the aspects that the author was describing Quran with. So in this sense, in maybe every or many aspects that he described, Quran should be unreachable in terms of making something similar of. So at the end of, I guess, today's text, the author is going to say that these definitions that he provides in here are either proved or will be proved. So they are not merely claims. But I guess in a sense, he is evaluating miraculousness of Quran based on these aspects or definitions.
And how these definitions in the first part and the second part are unique and it cannot be reproduced or cannot be imitated. Don't we have any other books or any other interpretation of the universe which is similar to Quran? Any comments on that? Because the verse says, even if you try, you cannot produce something like it. An author says, this is so, if what Yusuf says is right, correct, this is so because it's a pre-eternal translator of the mighty book of the universe. It is the post-eternal interpreter of the various tongues reciting the verse of creation. It is the commentator of the book of the words of the seen and the unseen, the revealer of the treasuries of the divine names hidden in the heavens and the earth. So this is the reason that you cannot produce something like it. And how this is so? Like, don't we have anything similar? Suhail, please go ahead.
So, at least the way I understand it is that it's impossible to produce something that speaks about the world of the seen and the unseen from the author's perspective or the creator's perspective. It's impossible. So without any revelation from that creator to try to make sense of the world would be impossible. So, to me, that verse sort of that speaks to can you produce an explanation of the world that's consistent with the world, that in and of itself doesn't say what the Quran says? What I mean to say, you are not just, copying the Quranic explanation of the world, or it's sort of unveiling of what's happening in the world. Anything you try to come up with cannot produce a better explanation than what the Quran has already laid out. So, in other words, you can't really say anything more than the Quran has already said. If you do say something, it would be less than what the Quran has already stated. And if you don't say what the Quran has already stated, then you have no basis for it because it doesn't correspond with reality. That's why you need divine revelation, because you can't speak about the world from your perspective, because you're not the one that's created it in the first place. So to speak about what it means precisely, exactly, accurately is impossible. At least that's the way I understand the verse.
Thank you. So the verse, and if I'm getting you right, the verse here is talking about the miraculousness or uniqueness that cannot be matched by others. It's about how Quran interpret the world, the creation, the universe, how it makes sense of the things that we observe, experience. And I guess from a practical point of view, we see that we don't have anything like it. So for instance, as author says in the second part, Quran claims that it is revealed by the all-merciful one. It is a notebook of the favors of the most merciful from the point of view of all-embracing, all-encompassing divine mercy. So according to Quran, wherever you look, whatever you observe, whatever you study, whatever you experience, no matter when you experience, when you study it, or where it happens, under what circumstances, there is always divine mercy in it, and you can see it if you like. This is what Quran says. Whatever you see out there or inside you, it is out of divine mercy. On the contrary, when we look at the other worldviews, so the people claims what we have right now is the best thing ever, because at least they claim that there's a progress in the human development understanding. And when we look at the best thing we have, a tiny virus is our enemy that we have to fight. And we have to fight with, all our technology, all our heroes, frontline, the soldiers. This is what they call it. That we have to fight. There's no mercy there. We have to kill it, get rid of it. Any illness, any headache, any hardship, any adversity that you encounter, that you experience, it is the opposite of mercy, and you have to either overcome it or fight it. So this is the best we have. This is the best interpretation of the word, that we have billions of enemies attacking us every day. And we have to protect ourselves. We have to, save ourselves. Or, as author says, divine says, Quran says, it is a revealer of the treasuries of the divine names, hidden in the heavens and on the earth. Or it's the commentator of the book of the worlds of the seen and the unseen. But the best thing we have for now, it says, no, there's only seen. There's no such thing as unseen. So with unseen, I'm not, referring to our eyes. Otherwise, nobody is as stupid as to claim that if I don't see it, it doesn't exist. Nobody says that anymore. But with unseen or seen, they say, whatever exists, it has to be in a form, it has to be in a type that we can fully grasp. It must be a natural type. Meaning, even if I don't know it now, if I study it, I can study all aspects of it. I can fully encompass it. Because I am a natural kind as well, at least theoretically. I should be able to do it. But Quran says, no, it's just the opposite. There is nothing in the creation that you can fully grasp. Everything has a seen and unseen aspects. And you will know them if they are revealed to you. There's no such thing as you are natural kind, they are natural kind, thus theoretically you are able to grasp. There's no such thing. You know to the extent I reveal to you. And if I don't reveal to you, there is no way that you can know. So it's really, practically speaking, it's so different. And as author says, this different interpretation is a much better, much accurate, much precise, and much more satisfactory interpretation of the universe, creation. So I think this first part, second part is a perfect example of an interpretation of this verse that we read at the beginning. So with this in mind, let's start with the third part, unless you have anything to add or subtract. Okay, let me read the third part. The Quran is a revealed scripture which contains, in summary, the books of all the prophets, whose times were all different, the writings of all the saints, whose paths are all different. and the works of all the purified scholars whose ways are all different. Its 6 aspects are all brilliant and refined of the darkness of doubt and skepticism. Its 6 aspects are all brilliant and refined of darkness, free of darkness, of doubt and skepticism. Its point of support is certain heavenly revelation and a pre-eternal word. Its point of support is certain heavenly revelation and the pre-eternal word. Its aim and goal is self-evidently eternal happiness. Its aim and goal is self-evidently eternal happiness. Its inner aspect is clearly pure guidance. Its upper aspect is necessarily the lights of belief. Its lower aspect is undeniably evidence and proof. Its right aspect is evidently the surrender of the heart and conscience. Its left aspect is manifestly the subjugation of the reason and intellect. Its fruit is indisputably the mercy of the most merciful and the realm of paradise. And its rank and desirability are assuredly accepted by the angels and men and the jinn. Each of the attributes in these 3 parts concerning the Quran's definition have been proved decisively in other places, or they will be proved. Our claims are not isolated, each may be proved with clear proofs. Okay, any starting comment before we start digging into it? Any quick comments? Oh, Yusuf, please go ahead.
As usual, I will go back just to summarize one point from your introduction. So when the verse is saying that if man and jinn were to get together and help each other, they will not be able to bring forth something like Quran. So this is actually arguing against this common rhetoric that one day we are going to explain it. So maybe not today, like all the humans that are getting together today, but as a collective effort over centuries of science and philosophy, eventually we are going to find the meaning and purpose, or like all the unknown questions, we are going to get to find an answer to those questions. As if Quran is saying that it's in no way possible that the role that Quran plays, which is interpreting this existence, telling us what it means, in no way that it's possible with the methodology that is being followed in terms of disconnecting from the unseen, as you were saying. So trying to find meaning from within the things themselves is a futile attempt. This is why Quran is making this challenge. And since there's this difference, which is like it's a gap which will never be closed, I guess Quran is safely making such a challenge. just to summarize what I understood from your saying.
Thank you. Would you like to also share your initial comments about the third part as well?
So I can repeat what we said last week. We made an introduction for the first part of the third part, like first sentence of the third part, which was about the Quran is a revealed scripture which contains in summary the books of all the prophets whose times were all different, the writings of all the saints whose paths are all different, and the works of all the purified scholars whose ways are all different. As far as I remember, we talked about this last week briefly. So one thing that I remember when I look at this sentence is it's talking about Quran speaking in short, for sure. Like summaries of all those things are taken from within Quran. I guess this is one of the things that I see within this first sentence. And also it's describing that another reason for the initial point, even like the prophets, saints, or scholars. So the partiality of humans' character understanding is being addressed in Quran, and whatever you hear from those people, you will find it inside Quran, as you will see that it is addressing them. So I guess this would be a very initial short summary. Sorry for its short.
Thank you. So since we started discussing the first sentence, maybe we can start with the second one today. So is there any other comments about the first part or the overall third point? Mohammed Said, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. I would like to put my comment about this, the first sentence or the first part of the third part. And I benefited from the comments so far. Thank you very much, everybody. I think the first, I'm going to use this word, but I kind of don't like to use it. The claim of the Quran, or not don't like to use it, but sometimes it feels different in some cases. The claim of the Quran is as it was said before, that the claim of the Quran cannot be really replaced with anything in the universe, let's say by the human being with his own devices. And the world, actually the universe necessitates that the maker of this universe has to have the best guidance. Nothing can be over the guidance of the owner of the universe, and that guidance should be really easy to choose for me, easy to decide, right? Like this is a very, for me, it's a very logical way of thinking, and it gives me security if I look for a guidance where to look, or definitely I will look for the guidance of the maker of this universe, and it's it fits this reality of this existence, that my maker, the maker of this universe, should be the really the best source of guidance. What is it going to what else is going to be? This is I think the first step is definitely acknowledging the creator. The As a second step, I think it's very easy and it is made easy for human being to look for such a guidance. So the Quran, the claim of the Quran itself then becomes a mercy. Um, Actually, I'm trying to kind of touch upon this word he used, self-evidently mercy. He said somewhere here, if I am not mistaken.
The
Yeah.
part he talked about its fruit.
Yes. I found its aim and goal is self-evidently eternal happiness. This got my attention very much. I'm thinking aloud at this moment that the claim of the Quran itself becomes a uh, a mercy, because there's nothing else that can really give me guidance in that. I'm just kind of using the first initial comments as a base while I'm speaking. Um, at this moment, I would like to leave it here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jazakallah khair. Okay, let's start from the beginning. Please interrupt me if you have any comments, questions. Its 6 aspects are all brilliant and refined. Its all aspects are brilliant and refined of darkness, free of darkness of doubts and skepticism. Free of dark, refined of darkness of doubts and skepticism. Darkness of doubts and skepticism. So what do you understand from this part? Like darkness of doubts and skepticism. Aren't doubts and skepticism the, how to say, like the fuel of enlightenment? Aren't they the driving force of, development, improvement? This is what we learned. Am I the only one who, who thinks that this is the opposite of what we taught in schools? The darkness of doubts and skepticism. And if you don't have doubt or skepticism, you're just fool, you're just dogmatic. Mohammed Said, please go ahead.
Thank you very much for the beautiful question. I think the emphasis on the Quran, while it is bringing this translation of the existence, is constant, and never the purpose of the existence is the matter, the subject matter for human being, and Quran always um, uh, uh, Quran, with the guidance of the Quran, the existence is always an act of uh, a will, an act of knowledge of the creator of the universe. In every matter in human life, in the universe, it cannot be happening by anything else other than the owner of the universe. So it is consciously being done. And therefore, um, maybe one more point, that um, the the journey of human being is kind of um, explained to him in a way that really fits and convinces and satisfies with the uh, needs that he is given. Uh, it the function of this world, and and not, there's no nothingness. The creator of the universe is uh, uh, by the guidance of the Quran, it is explaining that this world is a preparation, uh, which means that the worlds, different worlds, are going to be created with the according to the expectation that the human being is given. I think this also goes with this, that there is no skepticism or doubt, or enlightens the darkness of doubt. Um, that's my initial comment. Thank you.
Thank you. There are other people. Ayşenur, please go ahead.
So I have some rough thoughts that I could try to share. I mean, I think you aptly put it that the sort of worldview or paradigm that we live in is one in which doubts and skepticism and being doubtful, being skeptical are virtues, right? If you doubt something, or if you're skeptical of something, whether that's an argument or an idea, or a claim, then that shows that you realize something that others don't realize, or there is something more to be contributed on that pathway to finding, I'm using it loosely, truth or something. And again, I mean, the world I live in, if you don't doubt, if you don't raise a question, if you're not skeptical, then you're not contributing anything. You're not offering anything new. Novelty is the thing to be merited, right? And I think that doubt and skepticism have a role to play, right? I think that they are necessary in one's life, maybe at certain points, but that looking into my own human condition, I realized that I cannot have them as my objective. I cannot have them as the state of being to which I seek to be, because it brings me anxiety. Like living in a consistent state of doubt, in a consistent state of skepticism, it doesn't bring me a sense of security. It doesn't bring me a sense of comfort. It doesn't bring me, it's just anxiety upon anxiety, really. And I find that I cannot live happily or just with ease in that state. So I think they have certain roles and functions to play, but in getting you somewhere. But the notion of doubting, or the notion of being skeptical, I think always demonstrates that there's something incomplete about what is at hand. And the fact that it says here that, the Quran is refined the darkness of doubts and skepticism shows me, or tells me, that it's something that is complete, that will completely or in an absolute fashion satisfy me, not leave me with any gaps or lackings in any sense.
Very beautiful comments. And this is how author continues, right? It says, its aim and not just right after the doubts and skepticism, but in the following sentences, he says its aim and goal is self-evidently eternal happiness. This is something Mohammed Said also emphasized, that satisfaction, internal happiness, mercy. These are the goals, these are our objectives that we like to reach, we like to have. So doubt and skepticism might have some utility, but it is not something that we want to live in as a human being. At least when we are honest to ourselves, right? This, I think nobody would say, no, I'm really happy when I'm doubtful and skeptic of everything, constantly. But I guess in a world that there is nothing more than human interpretation, so if this is the world we live, that there is nothing more than human interpretation, that whatever we come up with is the only thing. If this is truth, then I can see how, the value of doubt and skepticism is so high. Because in such a world that everything is partial, that everything that can fail, because I know from firsthand that all my interpretations, all my understanding, no matter how certain I am in them, how certain I am in them when I'm having them or making them, I see that I always fail. And I see that everyone around me always fail. Or they fail from time to time, let's say. Even when we come together, as we're saying at the very beginning, even if we come together and help each other, we see that we fail as humanity. I mean, look at the things that we do. All these wars, stupid way of, the exploiting the nature, just killing our planet. So we are, partial and fallible creatures from one aspect. And if there's nothing more than this, then I would easily say that the best virtue is being doubtful and skeptic, and know that whatever you hear can be, falsified. Just try to find a better explanation, a better way. And this is, the aim of at least the graduate school, right? Whatever you know, whatever you hear, just let's take them as the current state of art, but try to do better than them. This is our default state. Everything can be improved. Everything needs some doubt and skepticism to be improved. But on the other hand, in a world, in a reality where revelation from the Maker is possible, is there, then it makes perfect sense to say that this revelation is free of darkness of doubts and skepticism. Because this is what I need. This is what I'm looking for. If there's a revelation, I want it, I expect it to be free of doubt and skepticism. Darkness of doubt and skepticism. Because doubt and skepticism comes with darkness. Realizing that there's a darkness, this is what it's called being doubtful, right? You see a darkness there, you hear an explanation of anything, somebody comes and says that, the children, they are such creatures, they, sometimes use their parents. They treat their parents to achieve some goals. They are these, nasty creatures. It's one interpretation of, these tiny little creatures. And you see, like there's a darkness there. There's a darkness in this interpretation. A little creature which is, full of beauty, full of the mercy, innocence, and tricking their parents, like using their parents. There's a darkness there. I'm doubtful of this. And I need an explanation of whatever is taking place in front of me. And I need an explanation which is free of this darkness. I need a better explanation which I will accept without any doubt, without any skepticism. My soul, my spirit, my mind, my heart, everything I am will accept it, will be satisfied. I need such thing. So I guess it's, yes, the doubt and skepticism is valuable when I'm interacting with human interpretation, human understanding, human explanations. But this is something I don't expect, I don't want with the revelation. I expect the revelation being free of doubts and skepticism. This is my criterion. If revelation is not free of doubt and skepticism, is not a revelation for me, because this is what I need. While I was giving this example of children, Bishra, my daughter was acting nasty, doing all these silly things around, screaming a little bit. Once I started talking about, that there's a darkness in interpretation which claims that the children use their parents, she just stood, very steadily, started listening to me. She was so innocent. I guess it was a sign that, I was on the right path. Anyway, any comments, any skepticism or doubts? Yusuf, please go ahead.
And I guess also considering what he has written in the rest of the paragraph, as if he is saying it is brilliant and refined of darkness and doubts because it is as such. Like these are the 8 aspects of it, and you see that it has those properties in there which makes it clear, solid, and not leaving any room for doubt whether what it says is going to make sense or what it is saying is verifiable, understandable. Because generally doubt is if I ask you a question and you give me an answer, you might sound very confident in your answer too. But for instance, if I ask you what happened 100 years ago, and you give me a very clear account, you are speaking very sure, and maybe you even have some sort of a title that you are relying on, but still I would have some doubts. Well, where did this guy learn these from? Does he have enough resources to get to such an information, for example? If you show me that you're speaking with some evidence, I will say, okay, so this doubt of me is now cleared. So let me see, and then if another doubt comes, then like this, I need to address those concerns. So in this regard, he's going to explain those 6 aspects. And since these are potentially sources of question marks for me, But if I clarify those aspects as he is going to explain, then I would say, okay, then there is not much room left for me to be have question marks about what Quran is saying, where it is coming from.
Okay, we started with it. Its 6 aspects are all brilliant and refined of the darkness of doubts and skepticism. And then it says, its point of support is certain heavenly revelation and pre-eternal word. Its point of support is certain heavenly revelation and the pre-eternal word. So I guess this is very similar to what we studied in the first part and the second part. It's being a pre-eternal word. The word is the translation of kalam, like I guess you can also take it as talking of God. This is, of course, what is referred to. Pre-eternal talking, pre-eternal word, and heavenly revelation. So it says whatever you read in Quran, it should be taken as a revelation, heavenly revelation, and pre-eternal word. This is its point of support. So what do you understand from its point of support being revelation? Point of support being a revelation. What do you understand from that? Its point of support is certain heavenly revelation and pre-eternal word. Yusuf, please go ahead.
So what does it build upon? Because I will seek for its strength or trustworthiness based on something. What does this build upon? So since, let's say, if one meaning that I'm expecting from Quran is, what does this existence mean? Why am I in here? So its maker should tell me what it means. So relying, I mean, the meaning that I am trying to attribute to or that I'm seeking for in the existence would and should come from its maker. Anything other than this would be a speculation, which would make it full of doubts. For example, if I say that, well, sunrise, sunrise means such and such and such. And then you ask me the question, how did you come up with this idea? What does this build upon? And I say, well, this is how I feel about it, let's say. Then you would say, okay, I mean, your feeling is your feeling. I don't feel like this, for instance. You wouldn't need to give a second thought about it, maybe. But the meaning that I am looking for in this in meaning of sunrise or meaning of death, let's make it more real, more concrete. Why do I die? What is the purpose of death? What's the purpose of life? Why all these things are happening? So a true answer to that question would come from the one that gives life, that gives death. So true answer should rely on or should be based on heavenly revelation. It cannot be based on a human's perception, perspective, because a human is going to be very much like anything else, because it itself is made, is created. So it's not the doer of this action. How come that it's going to give me a accurate description of what the purpose of that action was? I'm not able to hear you, Birkan, if you are talking.
How about now? It's interesting.
Yes, I can.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. And how is it? Is it a beautiful voice or just a regular?
It's good. It's good.
It's good. Okay. um, so yeah, I guess this is very, very important, and it makes perfect sense that the author is starting with this. Its point of support is heavenly revelation. As you said, this is also what I expect. I don't want to hear a solution coming from a doctor, coming from another person, that coming from a scientist, a philosopher, I don't know, accountant. I want an answer from the maker of the universe. I cannot make sense of it, like why I'm feeling bad, why I'm having this pain. I'm having this relationship and it's giving me pain. Why this is so? And I need an answer which is satisfactory in the full extent. I don't want an answer which will be, which will have some utility. Okay, try this exercise and you will feel better. How about taking this pill? Or try to talk to your partner. I don't like, yes, these are good, of course. I need to, also have some, let's say, quick, practical solutions sometimes. But the deep inside, what I need is understanding of it. Like, what does it mean? What is the purpose of it? How it is related with the fact that I will going to die one day. Because if I am going to die, which is certain, and it can happen anytime, any relationship which has any pain, even a tiny bit of it, it's just waste of time. Why should I waste my time, which is limited, with a relationship which gives me a pain? And I see that there is no such thing as a relationship without pain. So anything I have, it's just waste of time. Like my life it sucks. My life doesn't, mean anything. I have to get rid of it. I need a satisfactory answer. And I need an answer which will take this pain and make it a source of pleasure for me. So I need an answer from the maker of this pain. And as author says, whatever you read in Quran, it is coming from the maker. It's a heavenly revelation. So you can expect a full satisfaction out of it. And this is how author continues, right? Its aim and goal is self-evidently eternal happiness. It is coming from the maker to take you to eternal happiness, to give you eternal happiness. This is the aim. It wants you to reach eternal happiness. And this is your aim as well. So there's a full overlap. Any comments about this aim being eternal happiness? So one thing, what do you understand from eternal happiness? Yusuf, please go ahead.
So, like, I guess eternal happiness is something other than temporary happinesses, temporary joys that I am running after day in, day out. And actually, I'm being exhausted by them. Although temporarily, yes, I enjoy, but as they pass, it makes, and this constant worry of, am I going to be able to enjoy it again? It's exhausting. So I guess the eternal happiness is, I am looking for a state in which I am constantly in comfort, in contentment. This is what I'm looking for. I mean, this desire is in me, but those temporary joys that I experience is not extinguishing this thirst, but rather it's just making me more and more thirsty, those temporary joys that or happinesses that I'm experiencing. So yeah, I am looking for a happiness which lasts, after which I'm not going to be worried about, something that doesn't disappear. And I guess this being the goal, eternal happiness, if I question, I mean, definitely this is my need, and this is what Quran is also coming out with, saying that this is what I am offering you. And it's a big promise that matches perfectly, as you said, with me, my desires. But I am checking what are the alternatives of Quran out there. What do they offer? What sort of a happiness do they offer? Because all of them offer me some sort of a satisfaction. To some extent, I mean, there are some of them which just makes me more and more miserable, and it doesn't claim that it's going to bring me happiness either. And sometimes people go after them. But yeah, like either it is, we call it, yeah, we are adults, we are grown up, we are just searching for reality, whether it hurts or not. So death, yeah, it's inevitable. Everybody goes through it, and we are going to go through it. So no answer for that, just accept it. Acceptance is what you can do, they would say. But what Quran comes with is something that I am truly in need of, I am yearning for.
Thank you. So also, while I was looking at the original in Turkish, so this happiness, it's a very much used and emptied word nowadays, right? The happiness. So when I hear about happiness, the first thing comes to my mind is like, especially when we're talking about an intense happiness. If we take eternal happiness as, you know, the intense happiness, it's looks like, or it's smells like, you know, the drug use. You just take a few pills, you just take a few drugs, and just, you know, flying over the clouds. That cutting your relationship with the world, and your brain pumping all the hormones, and your blood is full of, you know, these chemicals, and you're just flying. And this is actually what we understand from happiness nowadays. Even in its purest sense, being happy is just feeling good. Like I'm happy meaning I don't have to work. I'm happy meaning I don't have to worry about my child, or I don't have to worry about, you know, cooking, cleaning, whatever. I'm happy, it means I'm free of pain. So it's very, I don't know, a limited thing, that it's something very mundane. The original word here is saadet, and the word eternal, definitely it's not about something being intense or long lasting, that you feel happy for a long time, and it's very intense. But it's, I guess, it's more about being satisfied in the full extent that all your human capacity, all your human faculties are being satisfied. Whatever in front of you, it speaks to your mind, it speaks to your heart, it speaks to your soul, it speaks to your spirit. It speaks to your imagination, it speaks to your desires, it speaks to your weakness or needs. It speaks to your dignity. It speaks to you in the full extent. And from every aspect, you can go as deep as you want, and you will find satisfaction again. You dig even more, you will find satisfaction again. Satisfaction from every aspect and satisfaction to full extent. Being satisfied and saying that, yes, I am content with this. So it's not just, a simple joy, enjoyment, or happiness that I'm lying down on grasses, watching leaves on top of me, looking at the sun, a cold wind, a breeze, touching my face. This is not eternal happiness. Eternal happiness, yes, maybe includes that as well. But all my desires, all my faculties, all my potentiality being satisfied, being fulfilled. And this is my goal. A drug cannot satisfy this. A drug cannot give me this. A human friend, a human partner, human mentor or guru cannot give me this. Only my maker can give this. Any comments, questions? Okay, let's continue then. Its inner aspect is clearly pure guidance. Its inner aspect is clearly pure guidance. And by the way, like these things that author mentions, revelation, eternal happiness, now guidance, they're not out of nowhere. He's not just making, making up an interpretation of Quran. These are also Quran's words. Quran says, I am guidance for you. And my aim is eternal happiness. So its inner aspect being pure guidance. What do you understand from that? Okay, since there's no comment, maybe I should share my understanding, which is not much. So when it says inner aspect is pure guidance, I understand that when you read a verse of Quran or when you study Quran, that what is inside there, what is at the core is guidance. That whatever is being said, it's to guide you. So for instance, if it is talking about punishment, it is there to guide you. So don't take it as a description of some other people. Quran is gossiping me about, Yusuf, who, I'm not talking about our Yusuf, of course. Quran is talking about Yusuf, who's, being so nasty nowadays, doing all these bad things, and the punishment awaits him. This is not Quran talking to me. because I cannot get any guidance out of it other than, you know, I should stay away from Yusuf. But other than that, there is no guidance there. So whatever I read must be guidance for me. This is the inner aspect. So if it's not guiding you, then this is not, you know, a verse from Quran. You are reading it wrong. And also, this is what I need. Again, talking about our needs and how Quran matches our needs. This is my need. I don't need gossip. I don't need any talk about other people, what happens to them, their situation. I need guidance about myself. Otherwise, I would read a novel, a fiction, you know, the writing. Yusuf, please go ahead.
So what else could it have been? So, I mean, you counted some of them, but for example, when I read a book or let's say even some email, I am thinking about if I know some background story, for example, that this person is angry with something. He was hurt and he wants to take revenge. This is where he is coming from. Actually, he is trying to, if you like, bury this opposing personality, idea, whatever. So he's not trying to enlighten me, but he's actually looking for some sort of a self-satisfaction, maybe. Or he is trying to achieve something and manipulating me. There are such agenda in these writings, let's say. So, but when I am like, if let's say initially I sit in front of a book without such thoughts, without considering or taking into account where this person is coming from, why is he speaking the way he speaks, what is the backstory, and let's assume I am just very honestly, clearly feeling as if this person is trying to guide me, and I read it, and somehow I realize or I hear about the backstory, how would I feel? I would feel betrayed, for example, because I was looking for guidance, but apparently the purpose was not guidance in there. So who can guide me becomes the next question. And I guess in here, pure guidance in this regard is making it even a very appropriate emphasis in there. Yes, somebody tries to give some sort of a, like, not nobody is purely evil. Yeah, there is some element of giving guidance in some there, but there are also those other elements. But I am in need of a pure guidance, which can only come from my maker, my creator. And I want to, by definition, such a thing should exist. And I would like to appeal to such a guidance, which I can, I would say confidently, if it's not going to be taken into another extreme, but by trusting that, and still, since we are speaking in terms of definitions, so a speech that is coming from my maker would be and must, I mean, would be actually pure guidance. So in this regard, this is also matching a desire, a need in me. I am in need of such a thing. I would like to sit in front of a pure guidance and receive without being worried about, am I being manipulated? And when it comes to confirmation of this, so in our day-to-day experiences with other people, we realize sooner or later that as we start seeing contradictions within what that person is saying and where that person is coming from, this is how actually we start losing trust in such people, right? So in my experience with Quran, how does it go? I guess this is in terms of verification of this point then. when I keep reading Quran as it's a pure guidance, I do not see contradictions in terms of, oh, my creator is trying to manipulate me, or, I mean, this sort of a thing does not occur. So I guess this is the other, and how I can verify this position, this point.
Thank you. Very important points. And again, going back to the first verse, sorry, at the very beginning, that even if all mankind come together, wouldn't produce something alike, like in the light of what you said, that I wouldn't find any thing which is pure guidance. There would be, some other aspects, sometimes manipulating me, sometimes just waste of time, just telling me nice things so that I will good, or just telling me stories for the sake of telling me stories. But it won't be pure guidance. Okay, let's continue. By the way, if you like to make comments on the previous parts, please don't hesitate. Like, you don't have to follow my pace here. You can make comments any part you like, just like Yusuf, he always goes back. Its upper aspect is necessarily the lights of belief. Its upper aspect is the lights of belief. Let me read the next one as well. Maybe it becomes clearer. Its lower aspect is undeniably evidence and proof. So upper aspect is lights of belief, and lower aspect, evidence and proof. So what do you understand from that? I haven't like a very faint understanding, but it's very weak. So I'd like to hear your comments. I really need it. So if there's no other comments, like no comments about this part, we can stop here and continue next week, because we won't be able to finish anyway. And I don't want to, just read this quickly and pass to the next part. I think this is really important, every sentence. So let's hear your comments. Otherwise, let's conclude here so that we can, think until next week. But if you have any comments, please go ahead. Okay, since there's no comment, سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. الفاتحة.